Assalamualaikum, we are from Group 10 and today we will be presenting about Prosecutor.
My name is Siti Rahma binti Muhammad Hadi. For the definition of prosecutor, a prosecutor is a legal representative of the prosecution in countries with either the common law adversarial system or the civil law inquisitorial system. The prosecution is the legal party responsible for presenting the case in a criminal trial against an individual accused of breaking the law. Typically, the prosecutor represents the government in the case brought against the accused person.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Nurul Atira binti Zakaria. Okay, so now we move to the types of prosecutor of criminal cases in Malaysia. The first one is public prosecutor or also known as Attorney General. Attorney General was appointed by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong on the advice of Prime Minister and was the principal legal advisor of Malaysia. Attorney General was a main domain in prosecution of criminal cases and also known as the highest ranking of public prosecutor as provided in Article 145 of the Federal Constitution, which stated that Attorney General has power that was exercisable at his discretion to institute, continue or discontinue or conduct any proceedings for an offence except the proceeding from Sharia court, a native court or a court martial. And in the section 376 of Criminal Procedure Code, the Attorney General have a control over any criminal prosecution and proceeding that happen in the country and each state. Next, Solicitor General was appointed by the Attorney General to assist him and it was consisted of Solicitor General of Malaysia, Solicitor General 2 of Malaysia and Solicitor General 3 of Malaysia. Now we move to the next slide, which is Public Prosecutor under the Attorney General's Chamber that consisted of Deputy Public Prosecutor and Assistant Public Prosecutor. Deputy Public Prosecutor and Assistant Public Prosecutor was appointed by Attorney General to perform prosecutorial and other matters related to the criminal. Their power was provided in the Section 376 Clause 3 of Criminal Procedure Code and Section 376 Clause 3A of Criminal Procedure Code. Deputy Public Prosecutor was appointed to assist Attorney General and Assistant Public Prosecutor was appointed to assist Deputy Public Prosecutor, both in the matters of criminal cases. For Deputy Public Prosecutor, he may exercise all of any rights and powers vested in or exercisable by the Public Prosecutor, or known as Attorney General. So, he has power to bring criminal charges against person. He also represents Attorney General in criminal hearings and proceedings. As for the Assistant Public Prosecutor, he has the same prosecutorial functions with Deputy Public Prosecutor, which may conduct any proceeding that relate to criminal matter in the state courts and as well as the High Court. That's all. Thank you.
My name is Siti Nuramana binti Saidi, metric number 053045. Our prosecutor considered as a law enforcement. A law enforcement officer or peace officer in North American English is a public sector employee whose duties primarily involve in the enforcement of laws. The phrase includes police officers and prosecutors who are law enforcement officers but not peace officers. Law enforcement includes every person vested by the legislating state with law enforcement authority, traditionally who can arrest or reverse such arrest for a criminal prosecution. They are also able to perform all duties that a law enforcement officer is tasked with, but may or may not be armed with a weapon. Accordingly, the police are empowered to conduct investigations to give justice to suspects, whereas prosecutors are empowered to check the investigation conducted by the police and to dispose the case for the prosecution following the due process of law.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nadira binti Hashim. As for the differences between a prosecutor and a criminal defense lawyer, a prosecutor is a public officer. They represent the office of the district attorney, the elected official who is in charge of criminal prosecutions within the jurisdiction. A prosecutor only deals with criminal matters which they are responsible for prosecuting a person who is charged with a crime. In simple terms, responsible for gathering evidence about the crime, deciding whether there's enough evidence to prove the case, then persuading the jury that the defendant is guilty on the basis of the evidence. Meanwhile, a criminal defense lawyer, on the other hand, may be a private lawyer or a public lawyer. Other than that, a criminal defense lawyer works for the individual who is being charged with a crime. Basically, each is on opposite sides of the courtroom. They investigate the case on behalf of the defendant, advise the defendant on how to plead, and if necessary, represents the defendant at trial with a view to getting him acquitted. They will fight for the rights of the accused and attempt to convince a jury that their client was not guilty.
My name is Aina Shazwani binti Maslan. Prosecutors' work and scope in criminal law. The role of prosecutors in society is essential to uphold the rule of law. It has the ability to strengthen the public trust in institutions and to control criminality rates. The first role is to lead investigations to identify a suspect and to determine whether there is sufficient evidence to file a prosecution. A prosecutor supervises and carries out investigations, prosecutes and argues accusations on behalf of the state. The second role is responsible for presenting the case in a criminal trial against an individual accused of breaking the law. Typically, the prosecutor represents the government in the case brought against the accused person. During the trial, the prosecutor also has a duty to report any evidence favorable to the suspect. The next role is interviewing witnesses. For any investigation, different types of witnesses will provide evidence for different perspectives, and the details are a critical element of all evidence. Other than that, handling appeals. An appeal filed against a decision by one of the parties of the case to a court of a higher level than the court that made the decision, requesting annulment or amendment of the decision. The last role is ensuring that every criminals are punished fairly. When the accused is proven guilty, then the defense counsel and the public prosecutor further argue to decide the quantum of punishment. The public prosecutor may argue for the adequate punishment, keeping in mind the facts, circumstances of case, and the gravity of the offense.